Okay. Hello, Dustin.
Hello, Hooper.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a Monday night and just kind of chilling.
Yeah, it's Monday night, and we're going to talk about The Dark Knight.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Nicely
yes.
done.
Thank you. Thank you. No movie reviews this week. There's too much other stuff that I wanted to gossip with you about.
Okay,
Um, so why don't we just go ahead and get on into it, I guess.
let's do it.
All right, so over the weekend, maybe, or toward the end of the last week, was DC FanDome, which was like a big day-long live
Hmm.
stream event that's sort of like a Comic-Con type deal for all of Warner Brothers DC stuff coming out. Right? Not just Warner Brothers, DC proper. Like,
Yeah, DC specifically.
yeah,
Yeah, it was, in lieu of Comic-Con this year, they just did the live stream deal and that seems to have worked really well. I haven't seen numbers. I don't know if they've released numbers of how many people actually tuned into this thing, but
yeah.
you're right. It was almost all day long. And I kind of had it on pretty much all day, just kind of running in the background on my computer. And when the times would hit that, oh, I want to see this, I would just go into the office where I am right now and just watch, they were pretty short. I mean, the longest one I think was the last one, and it was like a half hour, and everything else was like 15 minutes or
Mm.
less. And so I just sat down and watched that little bit, and then got up and did other things. Um, but it seems to have been pretty successful. They at least got the media talking, so that's good.
Yeah, a lot of stuff was announced and a lot of stuff was shared.
Hmm.
So, I, I don't have any, uh, we don't have like we don't have anything to show anybody, but, why can't I click on my own stuff here? Do I have to go into the doc? And okay, that's cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and edit the doc. The article I have right now, okay, well, maybe not, Dustin. I'm clicking on this thing and
It's not taking anywhere.
it won't
I've
take me
got I've got
anywhere.
a list
Oh, here we
of
go. Open
some
link.
things. Yep.
Well, the big things that it showed, at least for me, was here we go. Finally got to work this GameSpot article that we have in the show notes, but you can find this information anywhere or just go straight to YouTube or in one case Vimeo.
Yep.
But a lot of stuff announced and shown. The biggest of which I think, at least for me, was they called it a teaser. That was pretty much like I mean, it plays like a full blown trailer
It does.
for Matt Reeves' The Batman,
Yep.
the newest movie about Batman,
Hmm.
starring Robert Pattinson and a lot of other people: Jeffrey
Yep.
Wright, Andy Serkis, Paul
Yep.
Dano,
Yep.
Zoe Kravitz,
Yep.
and it was so cool.
It was. Why don't we end with that one?
Okay.
Let's
Ooh,
make people
yes.
wait for our breakdown of that.
It was cool, and we'll tell you why
It was
later.
cool. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Other things that we saw was the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer.
Hmm.
What else we got? There's a Gotham Knights game,
Yep.
the Suicide Squad. I wouldn't
Yep.
really even call that like a trailer. That
It
was
was like
like
a
a
featurette kind of a
extended.
deal.
Yeah, exactly. But we got to see all the characters that are in play.
Yeah.
Um, there was an announcement about a sequel to Shazam.
Yep.
There was a extended trailer for the Justice League Snyder cut.
Yep.
There was another video game announcement for Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League by
Hmm.
Rocksteady, which
Yep.
that's the same studio that made the
The
Batman
Arkham
game.
games.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, those are
Yep.
good games. Those are great games.
And this is in the canon, so
Oh,
it's the
really?
next Arkham game,
Oh,
basically.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
We got some details about Aquaman 2. We have a trailer or teaser for Black Adam
Hmm.
with Dwayne Johnson, some stuff about the Flash movie, some
Yep.
announcements about the Arrowverse, Titans, Sandman, and of course the Batman trailer, as we mentioned
Yep.
before.
Yep.
A bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Um,
And a couple little comics announcements too, which are of some interest to somebody.
still.
Sure.
What order do you want to hit these in?
Well, let's just go through them in chronological order.
That I do not have.
Okay, I've got it. I've got it. So first up was Wonder Woman 1984.
Okay.
This essentially is just a trailer. I mean, at this point, this film should have been released already. So presumably the movie's just done and sitting on the shelf and waiting for theaters. They released a new poster leading up to FanDome, and there's no release date listed on the poster, but it does say only in theaters, as if to knock these VOD things.
They all said that. I noticed they all said only in theaters.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. DC or Warner Brothers rather is going all in on these films being in theaters, which is good.
Good.
I would rather wait and be able to see these on the big screen than, just watch them kind of devalued and on my television. So Wonder Woman 1984 is obviously the sequel to Patty Jenkins' last film. Did you watch this trailer?
I did watch it, yeah.
So it looks great for a lot of reasons, but primarily because this is, if the first Wonder Woman film was like a halfway, like a half step to, getting away from Zack Snyder, this is like a full blown leap away from him, which is great. And we'll talk a little bit about Zack Snyder in a little bit, but the bright colors, quippy kind of humor, things seem optimistic and heroic and everything that Zack Snyder was not. And so I was on board for the trailer. The thing that made me most excited was, of course, our look at Cheetah, which I won't talk too much about, other than to say Cheetah is one of my favorite villains in all of DC Comics, but not really because I like her as a character, but I just love the design of her, and I love the idea of this cat, this humanoid feline cat thing chasing after Wonder Woman. I don't know, it's just cool looking in the comics every time. So I was really kind of hesitant because the early trailers didn't reveal this transformation. They showed Kristen Wiig, and that was about it. And so I thought, okay, it's going to be like a different take on her. She's not like mutated. She's just dressing like a cheetah, I guess.
Right.
Which the early versions of this character were that. And so to see that transformation here, maybe it's a little spoilerish. Maybe we could have done without it. But it showed us something we hadn't seen before, which I think if the point of it was to gain more interest than it already has had, and kind of hope that, oh no, I hope we haven't waited too long and people aren't interested anymore.
Right.
Then this was a good way to kind of get people re-interested in it. So I really liked the trailer.
You also have the benefit of having a lot of the effects probably finished,
or at least pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when this was supposed to be out already, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe they're taking their time,
Yeah.
and just kind of working on it, tweaking it some more. But I would imagine they're pretty close to done.
Can you imagine being working for a visual effects company right now, and for the first time in your career working reasonable hours,
Right?
for reasonable compensation?
The worst thing is, can you imagine working for the VisFX people and like busting your butt to get those VisFX done by the release date,
ruining your marriage,
and then it gets shut down, and you're like, man, so many sleepless nights.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm as excited for the movie as I was before. I think there's some stuff in that trailer that are kind of goofy. I'm interested in what's up with Steve Trevor. I like Kristen Wiig, so I'm always going to be curious about whatever she's doing.
Yep.
I thought that the lasso of truth over on the lightning reminded me of that lassoing the tornado, So, so there's some stuff in there where I'm like, I can imagine that when they decided, hey, she's gonna like ride lightning, being frustrated figuring out how in the world we're gonna put that on the screen.
Right.
How do we do this and make it look realistic? How are the physics gonna work?
Right.
So anyway, there's that. But I think I like Gal Gadot. And is it Gadot or is it Gadot? Is it Gal? I've heard it's Gal.
Yeah, I've heard Gal, I've
Gal
heard Gal.
Gadot.
Yeah, I listened specifically during Zack Snyder's thing.
Uh
He
huh.
introduces her at one point, and I think he says Gal Gadot.
Gal. All right. Gal Gadot.
But whether I trust
Gadot.
Zack Snyder on anything or not, it
Yeah,
remains to be
he's
seen.
just like, look, I'm gonna say it the way I'm gonna say it, okay? And
Right, just get over
I
it.
have
I
tattoos,
cast you.
okay? Yeah,
I made you.
yeah, I can unmake you.
What you think Vin Diesel made you? Nah.
Um, I um, I like her in the role, and I think that when Wonder Woman came out, you and I both sort of said this is sort of the turning of the tide for the DC films, where that was maybe the first one they put out that showed some promise and
Yep.
might make their universe worth it before they decided to collapse their universe and then explode it into a we don't really care that much multiverse type of thing. Like they're only saying multiverse now because they have a Flash movie to tie it together and they don't have to worry about continuity. Otherwise, they wouldn't
We'll
care.
talk about that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in the movie, but I'm not like over the moon about it.
Yeah.
Um,
I like Gal in the role,
yeah.
and I like that they're embracing sort of the goofiness of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is inherently goofy, and I think it's a mistake to approach it Zack Snyder's way. That's all like dark and gritty and
Serious.
serious and
Yeah.
whatnot. Like at the end of the day, it's an Amazonian girl that dresses in an American flag and fights crime with her tiara and her lasso. Like it's not.
It's about the source material. Like
Yeah.
we've been watching The Umbrella Academy, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about that at some point on the show. But like,
Sure.
I was telling my wife, like after the first season ended, she was like, we were talking about comparisons and everything. I don't want to get into this deep analysis, but the point
Sure.
was,
Sure.
at some point, I made a comparison to Watchmen in
Yeah.
terms of its not its overall tone,
Sure.
but its conception.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
The conceit of the whole
yeah,
idea.
it's an ensemble of heroes with varying degrees of power who are trying to stop,
Doomsday
yeah,
scenario.
yeah, a global killer event.
Yeah.
And Watchmen is that way, and I thought was done well by Zack Snyder because it stuck so well to the graphic novel.
Mm.
But when you try to pull that tone into Wonder Woman and Superman,
Yeah.
it doesn't really work. It just happened to work for that specific story.
And I think what's wrong with it is you treat the characters like they're real and like they're realistic and grounded and true,
Yeah.
but the worlds are inherently goofy.
Yeah.
So the drama is real,
Mhm.
but the tone is camp, and there has to be a balance of that. And so even Batman is inherently campy.
Yeah.
And you treat it realistically and you ground it in drama that's rooted in a humanity, but at the same time you have to embrace the silliness of it at some point. And so to see them doing that with 1984 is a good step. The thing that I really am not a fan of is that title. I don't like that title. I don't think it Wonder Woman 1984 is such a weird title. I wish they just called it Wonder Woman 2.
Yeah, but with their signage being WW2.
I know, but maybe they just shouldn't have done the abbreviation then.
I
Like,
guess so, yeah.
or just give it a subtitle: Wonder Woman, Rise of Cheetah, or whatever
God,
goofy
no,
thing they
no.
can think of. Like just something. I don't know.
cheesy.
Yes. But yeah, so I'm excited for it. I mean, yeah.
What happened chronologically next? I know what I would naturally segue to, but I'm not sure where the timeline is.
So next was the Gotham Knights video game, which
Okay.
we don't have to cover too much
Oh,
here.
this article might be in chronological order.
Okay.
I will.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this is a movie podcast, so we won't go too in depth here. But Gotham Knights is created by Warner Brothers Montreal, which previously did the Arkham spin-off game Arkham Origins, which I loved the story of Arkham Origins
they
and some
did
of the
that one?
design work. They did.
That wasn't
But
Rocksteady?
no, Rocksteady only did Asylum City and Arkham Knight. and
Oh.
then Arkham Origins was Warner Brothers Montreal, and so that's why Kevin Conroy wasn't in that one and Mark Hamill wasn't in that one. You have Troy Baker and what's the guy that plays Sonic now? Anyway, Roger Craig Smith, and so they yeah, so they're doing this thing called Gotham Knights. The story is that Bruce is dead, and so he's mobilized his family, Batgirl, Nightwing, Robin, and Red Hood, to fight crime and whatnot in his stead. And so there's a mystery to it. It feels Arkham-ish, but with some technological upgrades. I noticed like Robin seems to be able to go invisible, very like Terry McGinnis-ish, and a cool, some cool new powers. But it feels Arkham enough. But it is going to be weird that Batman's not a part of it. So yeah, I mean, it could be cool. I'm looking forward to it. I'll try to get it if I can. I think it's going to be playable on PS4, PS5, PC, and Xbox One and Xbox Series X. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
The next thing up is the Suicide Squad teaser.
Yep.
Or featurette, I guess we said. So this was this is the Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn, written by James Gunn as well. Is it not?
It is.
I think that okay. And I'm excited for this, and I was excited already because the news coming out of this has been nothing but positive and fun about this whole project. How much fun he had doing it, how much freedom Warner Brothers gave him. Yeah. How much the cast
gave him carte blanche, like just do what you want.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that had to have been a condition of his hire. Like I'm not, I'm here to, so yeah, like we said, it's not like a trailer or anything. It's a lot of very fast shots, and you can find, frame by frame breakdowns online of that if you really want to get into it. But there's a lot of very quick shots of both film footage and behind the scenes footage, and character splash panels basically of all the actors and all the characters that they play, and it varies. And I believe one of the early posters for the film listed every cast member, and then it said something like "Don't get too attached," because you're going to have a few of these people who will not be in the movie that long. Yeah. You got like Nathan Fillion and Pete Davidson, and you've got a lot of names of John Cena, and you just don't really know. It looks super interesting, and I'm excited for it.
So what's weird about this is, I know this had always been my big question, was how connected is this to the previous version? It seems like it's very.
Yeah.
It seems like a direct sequel. So Viola Davis is back as Amanda Waller.
Yep.
And she has assembled this team once again. Rick Flag, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang. I think they're all returning, right? Like Rick Flag was in the first one.
Yeah. Yep.
And then a whole host of new characters.
There's only two people who aren't returning. It's Deadshot, who's effectively been replaced by Bloodsport by Idris Elba, and then King Shark, who was supposed to be in Suicide Squad, and David Ayer said no, and that's why Killer Croc is in there. So he's not coming back, but King Shark is in here now. Yep.
But the rest of this cast, I'll just say, rather than the names of the actors, I'll just say the characters they play.
Sure.
So we mentioned Bloodsport. We've got Polka Dot Man. We've got Peacemaker, Savant, Javelin, Ratcatcher 2, Thinker, Mongal, Blackguard, Solsoria. Nathan Fillion is playing TDK, who is not in the comics, and Weasel. Which is Sean Gunn playing another small rodent. And then of course King Shark, who we don't know King Shark's voice. We know he's a CG character. Speculation is that's Taika Waititi, because we know he's in the film.
That's funny.
So that's the speculation, is that's Taika's role, which would be fantastic.
Yeah.
That voice coming out of a shark is fantastic. So yeah, look, I mean, it looks fun. I don't like that it's connected to the previous iteration, but I guess you have to at some point.
Yeah,
Um, I've made no secret of the fact that I don't care for the way they've written Harley Quinn. Um, I'll say
thus
this.
far.
Thus far, I'll say this: if anybody can do it, it's Gunn.
Yeah,
And I'll say this too. I hope I've been clear that I think Margot Robbie is a good choice. I
yeah,
just think she needs the right material.
yep,
So I hope that James Gunn is able to give her that good material. And then I'll say this too. Her costume in this is so incredibly close to the comics, like the original Harley Quinn costume, because I know there's like all the stuff of her like in the red dress and everything,
mm-hmm.
but like it seems like in the majority of this, including the teaser poster that they released, she's in like a red and black leather jacket
Yeah,
and pants, and it's very reminiscent of her Batman the Animated Series outfit. So based on that alone and James Gunn's influence, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt and hope that this rectifies the issues I've had with that.
yeah.
But undoubtedly, it's got to be tied to Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad 1 in some way, and so that is going to hold it back. But look, again, if anybody can do it, it's James Gunn, and I'm excited for it, and I think that his enthusiasm is contagious. And I'll just see anything that has a CG anthropomorphic shark and Nathan Fillion talking to each other. That would be fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So
And I mean, I said I would. I mean, I would follow James Gunn into the strangest of movies at this point.
sure.
And I'm really, obviously curious to, you know, any movie that any filmmaker is passionate about doing, especially if it fits within, a genre or framework that I like, is gonna, especially interest me. So,
Yep.
I'm excited to see the Suicide Squad. Is it
Yep.
is next? Is it the movie?
Yeah, The Flash.
Not what I was thinking about, but yes, let's do the Flash. Let's
Okay.
talk about the Flash. Yeah, the Flash.
The Flash.
I don't know much about this except for one piece of casting news,
Yeah.
which is
So
that
good.
Ben Affleck will return as for some role in the film as
Yep.
Bruce Wayne, or possibly a Bruce Wayne,
Yep.
because this is where this whole infinite Earths or all other alternate timelines is supposed to be happening. And wasn't there already a Infinite Earths thing in with the Arrowverse
Yeah, they did. They
with
did
Ezra
Crisis on
Miller?
Infinite Earths this year, and Ezra Miller did cameo in that.
Oh God,
Um,
weird.
and yeah, so it's weird. But look, I mean, if any character was going to, do this multiverse thing, it has to be the Flash. I'm
Yep.
I'm all for that.
Yes.
What I'm not a fan of is a few things. Ezra Miller in the role, don't like it. Never been a fan of it. I don't like the haphazard approach to the multiverse. Like it should be something that is built up and becomes its own thing, not something that they lead with, because the way that it comes across is like, hey, we've got the multiverse. Hey, we've got Michael Keaton's Batman. Hey, we've got Ben Affleck's Batman. And it's like all of these things that they're throwing out there because they know that inherently you're not interested in seeing Ezra Miller play the Flash in a Flash movie. So it's like, here's all the things that aren't that. And that's worrisome to me. Because I think a Flash movie needs to work on the Flash level before it tackles anything else. And so I think maybe I'm alone, but it would be nice to see the Flash explore his powers and understand them before we branch out into time travel or multiverse. And that was what was so great about the show, is that first season was, all right, let's figure out how your powers work and what
Yep.
this means for you before we go into alternate Earths and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Because, you have to understand who he is as a character and what he can do. And we don't have that. And in fact, he doesn't have that. He mentions, so he was in like a scene of Batman vs Superman, a scene of Suicide Squad, and then in Justice League. And in Justice League, I've only seen it the once, but if my memory serves, he doesn't really know how to be the Flash yet. Like he doesn't know how to be a hero. And then in his cameo on the Arrowverse, there's some mention made of him being like still young and new at this whole thing. And like
Even
Grant
though
Gustin's more experienced.
He's visibly older than Grant Gustin.
And he's been the Flash for about as long.
Ah.
And in terms of real world years passing.
Sorry, I'm still young. I'm 41 and I'm still young.
Right. But all that said, like, it's just so strange because, yeah, I guess I'm kind of excited to see Michael Keaton, but not really. Yeah, I guess,
Right.
you know, the multiverse is a cool idea, but only in so much as you're willing to let those other projects have cameos. Like, the only reason this will work is like if you go to like another Earth where it's just Ezra Miller in a wig, it's just going to be like, this is cheesy and goofy. But if you show me John Wesley Shipp in the 90s show and you show me Grant Gustin in the CW show, like have them there, maybe that's okay. But again, the CW show already did it. They've already done that.
Right.
They showed me John Wesley Shipp in the 90s, you know, like they've done that.
I think that what I like about them doing the multiverse is I'd rather DC really dive into that foray as opposed to Marvel this time, just because I think it's such a hard idea to execute that I'm looking forward to watching DC mainly just use it as an excuse to recast people.
Yeah.
More than anything else. Then
I hope Ezra Miller gets the boot after this one.
Sure. It's like, hey, thanks for opening the space-time continuum. You cannot come, though. And
yeah, you have to sacrifice yourself so Ryan Gosling can be
you have
Barry
to
Allen.
absorb yourself into the Speed Force. And so
Right.
so it's an interesting idea that I would be curious to see like 5 years from now how many times they really did go, hey, you know what, like so and so didn't want to come back, let's just pull a different Batman out of this. You know, or let's pull a different you know, this hero, or let's get a different Arrow, because I'd be sitting there thinking like, okay, I knew you were going to do this. I'm not mad because you're being lazy and I'd sort of expected this. So I'll feel good knowing that like I predicted it, but I won't enjoy, it'll never be as good as what Marvel probably ends up doing, which is using it to some other limited utilitarian effect and not using it as an excuse to recast actors or confuse storylines, but rather like create conflict for the existing heroes.
Right.
It's such a hard idea because if you really want to like think about like in real life, like if the space-time continuum ever did open or there was a crisis on Infinite Earths, like there could be a billion Dustins, you know?
Yeah.
So it's and there's no reason why they wouldn't all look exactly like you know, like casting other people is irrelevant. It's weird. It's just a weird thing.
It's a strange concept, and you know, Doctor Strange is going to deal with it too.
Yeah.
In that film, and so, but it's just so weird because again, on the DC side of things, like, okay, you got Michael Keaton, that's great, but at the end of the day, like, what else are you going to do? Get Brandon Routh? Well, the CW show already did that. They got Brandon Routh to reprise Superman. What are you going to do? Have Burt Ward as Robin? The CW show did that too. What are you going to do? Have Tom Welling as Clark Kent? The CW did that too. So it's like, what is there left to do? The CW show had Kevin Conroy play live action Batman. Like, what else can they possibly do?
I'll say this, dude.
Other than Christian Bale.
There's one thing that I would be okay with them doing, and that would be if Michael Rosenbaum came back as Lex Luthor.
As Luthor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I still contend that he would be the best casting choice for Lex Luthor now.
I agree. Although I have another option for you, but that's for another show.
Oh, okay.
Remind me, and we'll get there.
Okay.
But yeah. So but I would agree. But you know, Michael Rosenbaum turned down the CW when they asked him to do that. Very famous.